When altcoin season? That's what everybody is asking. What I find interesting is that the current development that we see with the altcoin dominance and with the altcoin performance relative to the rest of the market, it's pretty much in line to what we have seen in prior cycles. Because it seems like there are two situations where the altcoins perform very nicely. The first one is whenever we have recovered from a bear market, when Bitcoin is already up a few percentage points, when we've clearly seen the bottom. And it's secondly, when we are at the end stages of a bull market. Let me show you what I mean. So what we've got over here is the long-term Bitcoin price chart. It starts in 2010 when Bitcoin was just a few cents and goes all the way to today where Bitcoin is close to 100K. Now let's have a look at the recent past. Some viewers here might still remember this bear market. Bitcoin moved from 20K all the way down to 3.5K, a drop of more than 80%. And I personally started my crypto journey over here. I started buying Bitcoin at 7K and continued dollar cost averaging all the way down here at the bottom as well. But we've got clearly a bottoming at the beginning of 2019 and the Bitcoin price rallied by 260%. Right, from a bit over $3,000 to almost $12,000. Now let's have a look at the altcoin dominance here at this white first vertical line. Where was the altcoin dominance after Bitcoin made a more than 3x and after we had seen this devastating bear market? The altcoin dominance was very, very low. It's over here. It's the others dominance. So the market cap of all of the altcoins that are not in the top 10 relative to the entire crypto market went up by 113%. The altcoins outperformed by more than 2x. Now directly after that outperformance, we saw an altcoin crash. So that's indicated here with this red line. Again, this was a good time to buy altcoins after the crash. So at the end of December of 2020, and that corresponds to this line here. Now this was the COVID crash, where we actually also hit the lower floor in this long-term Bitcoin chart. But it wasn't the COVID crash, it wasn't the recovery from the COVID crash where it was the best time to buy the alts. It was after Bitcoin has already rallied. It was when the risk relative to the reward wasn't that great for Bitcoin anymore. So it seems like there's some kind of a lagging effect here. When people make money with Bitcoin, when people buy into Bitcoin during a depression, because you can hold Bitcoin for the long term, once you've made some money, once you are 2-3x up, then you tend to rotate over to things that are a bit more risky. The upside for the altcoins is higher than for Bitcoin at some point, and there might also be a lot of new investors that jump into crypto, right? The new investors, they see that Bitcoin has already rallied and they're wondering, what should we buy next? What is the next Bitcoin that still has potential because Bitcoin is already up? That's probably what's happening here. People prefer Bitcoin during a bear market. People also prefer Bitcoin as the first vehicle when the bear market recovers. So Bitcoin can go up massively, more than 3x, and during the same time the altcoins are doing poorly. It's after the 3x, that's when the altcoins are bought. It's at those points in time. And it's the same during the COVID crash, right? Bitcoin again made a multiple X return, and this was close to the end of the bull market. Bitcoin still made some gains, less than 2x, but it was really the altcoins that took off. The others dominance outperformed by more than 3x. So Bitcoin almost doubled and the altcoins made more than a 3x on top of that doubling. That's the point in time where altcoins are most attractive. Now let's have a look at this third vertical line. This is a very long-term others dominance chart, and those are just two randomly curved lines. There's really nothing scientific about them, but they are parallel and they tend to somewhat encompass the bottoms historically and also the tops, of course with a little bit of error. But currently we are again at the bottom. But let's focus on June 2023. That was over here. This time Bitcoin didn't make a 3x from the bottom. It only went up by 64%, but it was somewhat clear that the bear market was over, right? We had again seen a correction, again not by 80%, but a bit more muted. The price went down by 75%. And when the crashes are more muted, when the rallies are more muted over time, this is just to be expected, right? Because Bitcoin's market cap grows over time, and so the volatility should also reduce. It's something that we have seen several times. The first rallies in Bitcoin were massive, 36,000%. Then we had another rally here, 7,000%. Then we had another one over here, also 7,000. But the corrections definitely slowed down as well. 93% over here, 80% over here, another 84%, 85% over here. And the recent bear market was the least brutal of the bunch. And so seeing an altcoin rotation happening a bit earlier after the end of the bear market is somewhat to be expected. Now, doesn't the current development look oddly familiar? Have a look at this. We had our initial rally after the bear market. So here's the end of the bear market. Here's the end of the bear market. We came out of the bear market over here. We came out of the bear market over here. And this is where the others' dominance went low. The altcoins outperformed after Bitcoin has already seen the bottom. Then we went back down again. And historically, what happened after this second depression is the real takeoff. Now this doesn't overlay perfectly, right? We have to do some kind of adjustment to get this right. But yeah, if the patterns repeat, we could see the altcoins from here outperform by more than 100%. Very short term, there is of course still risk, right? The altcoins could still go down another 11% versus the rest of the market. But then comes decision-making time, right? Are we going to see another rally or will this whole pattern break? Have a look at this chart. This is slightly less optimistic. This is also the others' dominance to a degree. We are looking at the cryptocurrency market cap of the altcoins, but we are also removing the stable coins from this. And this tends to move in a somewhat predictable range. We have our extremes over here, but outside of those extremes, we are in a somewhat tighter trading range indicated by those red horizontal lines. Here, the potential risk to reward isn't that great. On this chart, it seems like the altcoin market is somewhat neutral, right? It's not particularly cheap. It's not particularly heated. What's going to prevail? Your guess is as good as mine. I think very useful metrics to look at are social indicators, as in how many Google searches are there for crypto, how many views are there on crypto channels, how many new followers are there in Twitter or in the X platform. An altcoin rally needs a lot of new entrants into the space. We do need to see the excitement by new investors. We need to see how new investors don't believe in Bitcoin's upside anymore and how there are people looking for those new 100x gems. Without any hype that comes from new investors, we are probably going to see continued underperformance of the altcoins for a while. Altcoins are not necessarily particularly cheap. There are some signs of a market slowdown, so I believe it's more important than ever to really focus the altcoin bets, to not just have 20, 30 different altcoins and hope for them to outperform, to rather pick a few alts where all of the attention currently is and where there's still enough upside potential. Now here's the thing, there are plenty of topics within crypto that aren't very sexy, but that are, I believe, very vital to make money long term. For example, concepts like correlation. What we see over here are correlation coefficients. Did you know, for example, that most altcoins tend to be more correlated with Ethereum than with Bitcoin? In other words, it's not when Bitcoin goes up that the altcoins go up as well. It's rather when Ethereum goes up, then the altcoins go up as well. Or did you know that the correlation coefficient of the S&P 500 to Ethereum and thus the altcoin market is actually quite volatile? In other words, it does make sense to also own stocks, not just Ethereum, not just crypto. The common narrative is that when traditional markets go down, that crypto tends to go down as well, right? That crypto is simply just a levered bet on, say, technology stocks. That's not the case. The correlation coefficient is relatively close to zero. Or do you know the long-term expected returns of various asset classes, of say gold, of say the S&P 500, of Bitcoin, of altcoins? When we don't just own crypto, but we also own property, for example, and we've got that portfolio, what kind of returns do we need in order to beat monetary debasement, but also in order to at some point to get financially free? How much money do we need to have enough passive income to not having to work anymore? What are expected long-term returns, and how much should we actually allocate towards crypto and towards property, towards stocks, gold, bond, etc.? What actually makes sense? When there are tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of dollars on the line, not having this properly nailed down is a huge problem. And when the market isn't that great anymore and the upside for Bitcoin could be somewhat limited, how can we still make money? How can we make money from charts like this? What we see over here is Balancer relative to Ethereum. We can make money by shorting this. Balancer has very bad tokenomics, the supply increases over time, and so it tends to do worse than Bitcoin and Ethereum over the long term. And we can make money from that, again, from the relative valuations, not just from US dollar valuations. When we look at how quickly is the monetary base expanding, and we put this into relationship to how quickly are salaries increasing, we actually see that pretty much everybody is falling behind over time. And this is not just true for the poor people, this is even true for the top 5% of earners. By the way, if you earn $500,000 per year, then you are in the top 5%. But yeah, data like this is useful. And those are not necessarily the sexy topics that work well on YouTube, right? On YouTube, it's the 100x altcoin gems that get all the clicks. But when you talk about diversification and correlation, etc., people just fall asleep. But it's the long-term planning, the long-term proper allocation towards different asset classes that actually make the difference. And so have a look at all of this. Those are tutorial videos of the premium membership of this channel. It's down below, thebitcointrader.com. There's more than 100 tutorial videos in total. What are my favorite crypto macro indicators? How do interest rates impact different asset classes? We've just seen how the market got spooked because the Federal Reserve might get more hawkish. Or how do we adjust our returns for risk mathematically, right? Everybody can get more returns by increasing the risk massively, but the idea is we want to get the best returns for the risk. And so there are ways to calculate this using alpha and beta. Those are all very complex topics, but I strongly believe that it's the skilled people, the people that have most knowledge, that tend to make most money over time. Now, besides all of those tutorial videos, there are also various chats in premium where I try to be active as well. So in case you've got any questions, just tag me in a message in those premium chats and I try to reply. The membership is currently $165 per month. This is not for people that only have a net worth of $1,000, right? This is for people that actually have to manage wealth in the tens of thousands, preferably even hundreds of thousands of dollars. There is a 1-week money back guarantee as well. So in case you don't like premium, just message me within the first week and I refund you 100%. There's really zero risk for you. Now, if it's your first time here, feel free to subscribe. I publish videos regularly. A like would be very much appreciated as well. It helps the channel grow. See you in the next video or see you in premium. Cheers.